Hello, everybody. Welcome to Galaxy Brains, where that's not the World Cup. It's the World's Cup, a new protective appendage applied to Earth to prevent us from kicking ourselves in the groin so frequently. And Denny, kicking oneself in the groin could be what Mike Tomlin did this week when he may have fired up the opposition with a fiery quote.
Yeah, in his Monday press conference, Mike Tomlin came out and said of nickel corner. So we're talking most about slot cornerbacks here. Mike Tomlin said, quote, "They are angry little people." And first of all, Mike Tomlin is a truth teller, okay? Because that is absolutely on point. Both slot receivers and the guys covering the slot receivers are both just furious all the time. They're mad about everything. And I think it comes with the position. You know, they've been kicked off the outside into the, the inside of the formation, and they're just mad all the time. But what this tells you is that Mike Tomlin is playing a Galaxy brain game, in that he definitely did not draft Diontae Johnson in fantasy football leagues. That's one thing. And secondly, he's going to ensure that the regression never hits for Diontae Johnson by systematically firing up every cornerback who's going to cover Johnson in the coming weeks. You got to hand it to Mike Tomlin.
You know, we've been wondering all year how Diontae Johnson's expected fantasy points. Every week, he expected fantasy points that he's supposed to have 32 PPR points this week. It said it was 7.8. We don't know what's going on. They never turn into real points. And I think we have finally, this is just the scratch of the surface though here. That's not an actual phrase, but I think we now need to start going back every week and finding out ways that Mike Tomlin was manipulating the opposition, manipulating Diontae Johnson into not scoring, because expected fantasy points, those are fail safe. That they never, ever, ever fail. They always turn into real fantasy points, except in the case of Diontae Johnson.
I've said for years that fantasy scoring should be based on expected points and not actual points. And this would actually be better for those who follow good process in the game. And Mike Tomlin knows that. And I think that, he's just making sure that nothing ever good happens for Diontae Johnson.
Denny, someone who counted on expected points more than actual fantasy points, or real points, was Matt Nagy in Chicago, who coached the Chicago Bears as if they were never allowed to win by more than 3 points. If they scored by more than 20 points, their season would be canceled.
Right.
It was not something that they just did. It wasn't Chicago Bears football. We thought this was his philosophy. It turns out it may have just been his curse, and that Matt Nagy had used up all his powers of preparation in Kansas City, where Patrick Mahomes this week was throwing one bouquet after another to Matt Nagy. Like, this was the guy who got me drafted in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. This is the guy who got me ready for the game. We love our Matt Nagy, don't we, folks? And if you can do that with Patrick Mahomes, how can you not do that with Justin Fields, Denny? What happened here in Chicago? Yeah. We're still unpacking this.
It's hard to unpack, because Mahomes came out on a podcast this week, actually Travis Kelce's podcast he does with his brother, Jason, and Patrick says, and I call him Patrick because obviously we're friends. He says, Matt Nagy, I'm giving Matt Nagy credit for getting me drafted to Kansas City because he helped me prepare to impress Andy Reid and to show him what I know and what I can do as a quarterback. So what we're thinking here is that Matt Nagy used all of his abilities to prepare a quarterback on Patrick Mahomes and had nothing left for Justin Fields. And you have to feel for Justin Fields because, he was treated like, I don't know, an immobile statue quarterback, like Matt Ryan under Matt Nagy. It just makes you think, if Matt Nagy had just saved some of it for Fields, what could have been in Chicago?
I think we're nearing a unified theory of humanity, where some people may know that we have a former president who said he didn't exercise because he thought the body had a finite number of energy. And that if he exercised, that he would die younger. This is actually true. Yeah. And that exercise was bad. It turns out the same as preparation. If you over prepare in Patrick Mahomes, you just have no preparation energy left for Justin Fields.
You're only endowed with so much prep, and that's why I don't prep for any podcasts, because I don't want to use it up. I want to be doing this for a while. I don't want to use it up.
Denny, someone was not prepped for a fourth quarter comeback in week 12. Tell us about it.
That's right. Speaking of preparation, Todd Bowles, folks, not entirely prepared to manage the clock properly last week against the Browns. Of course, the Bucs fell to the Browns in Cleveland in overtime. The Bucs actually got the ball back with about a minute left. Could have driven down the field and perhaps kicked a field goal in regulation to win the game. Again, I want to emphasize they ended up losing this game to Cleveland. Todd Bowles was asked about that after the game. Hey, why didn't you try to score some points, just a field goal to win the game in regulation? And Todd Bowles very simply said, I was afraid my quarterback would throw an interception.
Denny, who's the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I actually looked it up on Pro Football Reference. It's Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the quarterback. So
I thought it was still Josh Freeman.
Right. I did too for a moment, but yeah, it's Brady. So the widely considered the greatest football player to ever play, and definitely the greatest quarterback.
Yeah, not just the greatest football player, not just the greatest quarterback, the greatest comeback artist and
crunch time performer.
You could say we would beg Todd Bowles to just watch one Tom Brady YouTube clip, to maybe click on one trending Tom Brady topic. He's on his computer like Brady, #Brady GOAT. What does this mean? Click on it and #28.3. What does this mean? And clicks on it. This, if Todd Bowles to breathe 1 second of 21st century football air, basically, is what we're asking. And maybe put his fourth quarter comeback faith in Tom Brady.
So, I mean, Todd Bowles' explanation would have held some water if, I don't know, he was talking about Daniel Jones or, I don't know, Zach Wilson. I'm just trying to name bad New York quarterbacks. And sorry to the New Yorkers watching. If he would have done that, people would have said, okay, all right, I guess Bowles has a point. But, you cannot say that about Tom Brady. That is the ultimate galaxy brain move. We love galaxy brain. We don't love that kind of galaxy brain.
No, we don't love that kind of galaxy. And by the way, you know how Tom Brady slipped is that he did not have a conniption fit on the field at not calling a time. Like old Tom Brady, his head would have exploded.
I was wondering, what are you doing, Tom? I feel like Tom is quiet quitting a little bit.
He is quiet quitting. Speaking of quiet quitting, Denny, I think 52 Denver Broncos would be doing, at least that would be the theory if there were anything quiet about their quitting. And instead they were not raging at their quarterback. We were finally remembering of KJ Hamler back in week 6 or 7 in the game of the year, the Thursday night football game against the Colts, slamming his helmet in the end zone and screaming at his quarterback and showing up his quarterback for not seeing him wide open for the game winning touchdown. It was turned out the beginning of a trend where Mike Purcell, Denny, frankly, seemed like he wanted to break Russell Wilson in half in week 12. After Russ appeared to say something to him when he was coming over, and then Mike Purcell said something much more violent to Russell Wilson. What happened here?
Right, Purcell, obviously defensive lineman, very large man. He gave Russell a piece of his mind as he walked off the field, and I'm guessing it had something to do with the performance of the Denver offense against, I can't emphasize this enough, the Carolina Panthers, okay? Not exactly our idea of world beaters, even on Galaxy Brains. And Russ, of course, who can't stay off the show, by the way. He's never not been on the show.
Actually, it's the first thing we do probably on the show. Google Russell Wilson.
That's right. We have a string of Russell Wilson stories to address. But my thought is that Russell Wilson can avoid this in the future, can avoid being dressed down by teammates on the sidelines if he just simply stops saying Broncos country, let's ride. I mean, just don't say that when you're down by 17 points in the fourth quarter of the Carolina Panthers. You don't say Broncos country, let's ride. Just don't say it.
Don't get me wrong. It's now my new favorite phrase, my new favorite jinx attempt, such as Netherlands country, let's ride ahead of Saturday morning against the U.S. men's national soccer team. But there's a lot of things for Russell Wilson to consider. I mean, again, he could consider having more touchdown passes than toilets in his opulent mansion he shares with pop star Sierra. He could consider, not tweeting slow motion shots of him walking up in like a $10,000 suit and being like, God told me I'm going to throw 5 touchdowns today. And Broncos country, let's ride. Basically could do anything other than what he's been doing. But he will not do that because he's Russell Wilson and Broncos country. It's riding, Denny. It's riding.
Straight down the toilet in his bathroom, in his mansion.
In one of his 12 bathrooms in Galaxy Brains country. We'll be riding again next week for Denny Carter. I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you so much for watching.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.